The Fox News Audio and the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now.
Outrage in a
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Looking at adult murder charges. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending this hour. A 15-year-old boy is being charged as an adult for brutally stabbing a 14-year-old Arsenal Tech student. Court documents say jury Alberto Guzman stabbed Annabelle Torrillo at a home not far from the school on the near east side of Indianapolis last year. Investigators acted on a tip that said Guzman lured the girl from school by saying he had a gift to give her. When they were together, police said Guzman stabbed the girl to death because he thought she was cheating on him. Indy police officers arresting another suspect in a shooting from last Saturday that injured 3 people, Jake McDaniel reports.
Detectives used Harold Love Jr.'s phone to track him to his home Thursday. That's when they found a gun and drugs in Love's home before they took him to jail. The shooting was behind a Jimmy John's in the area of Georgetown Road near West 56th Street around 11:30 that night. Nearly 50 shell casings were found there as well. The first person arrested was Carlos Contreras. Officers say he drove off and crashed, and guns and drugs were also found in his vehicle. Both face several preliminary charges. Jake McDaniel, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
The Indianapolis Colts are on the West Coast looking to move to 4-0 for the first time since 2009. Kickoff against the Rams is at 4:05 Eastern Time. And the Indiana Fever trying to force a decisive Game 5 in their series with the Las Vegas Aces. They're currently down 2-1. Sunday's Game 4 tips off at 3:30 inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
On Sunday, mostly sunny skies, high temperatures once again getting into the mid-80s. No rain chances expected over the next 7 days as temperatures will be checking in consistently above average. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
Hi, I'm Dustin, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company. I know finding a dream engagement ring can be overwhelming, but don't worry, we got you. As director of diamond sourcing, it's my job to make sure every single diamond at Shane Company is truly the best of the best. Our team travels the world to see diamonds up close, in person. We handpick each one for its unique fire, brilliance, and scintillation. Diamond buying is an art. Of course, we look at cut, color, clarity, and carat, known as the 4 C's, but that's not all. We also look at how each diamond looks on a hand, where it will be worn, how it makes you feel, and if it's worthy of a Shane Company customer. That type of expertise only comes from working for a company that's been a family business since 1929. We also think about your budget. We only pick the best in each grade in all shapes and sizes. Your diamond is guaranteed to be the most beautiful because a friend wants you to pick from only the best. Drop by your store or shaneco.com and see for yourself. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
What if the next time you painted your home was the last time you painted your home?
Our home has had Rhino Shield for 10 years.
Rhino Shield. Call 888-RHINO-41. Don't paint, don't vinyl. Go Rhino.
Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And good afternoon and welcome to the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. We're thrilled you're with us. Let's get right into it. I was just reading on social media about a shooting. This is in quote-unquote Cumberland. It's really far east side of Indianapolis in the area of German Church Road and East Washington Street. And this happened at 4:30 in the morning with reports of a person shot in the 11300 block of Tuck Court. again, near German Church in East Washington. And Cumberland Metropolitan Police Department officers responded and ultimately gave a statement that there was a man found who'd been shot in the head. He was taken to a local hospital in critical condition. And a spokesperson for Cumberland PD said investigators believe the man who was shot was attempting to break into the home, and also reported that the shooter, apparently the homeowner, was cooperating with the investigation. And this story got posted by WTHR on social media, and a lot of folks were commenting. And as I often do, I was going down through the comments on this, and it really highlighted for me something I was, I guess, a little disappointed in. I should never assume for a minute that everybody listens to the Gun Guy Show, or everybody's gone through my Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class, and so I should not assume that everyone also has been self-educated on Indiana's self-defense laws. But the amount of misinformation, or really just, I think, people relying on inaccurate understandings of Indiana self-defense law as they're commenting on this shooting, and it made me definitely want to talk about it. This just happened yesterday morning at 4:30 in the morning on Friday. And listen, if you listen to the Gun Guy Show, you've probably already got the correct terms in your head. Castle Doctrine, exactly right. And what is the Castle Doctrine? The Castle Doctrine says that you have the legal justification. In other words, you have the legal ability to defend your home, including with deadly force, if you reasonably believe that deadly force is necessary to either prevent or terminate an unlawful entry into or attack on your dwelling. And I talk about this statute often, but it's just so important. I mean, as an advocate for Second Amendment rights, there are certain critical moments potentially in a person's life where the Second Amendment becomes very, very, very important to them. Very important to their family, very important to their homes. And obviously, one of the leading examples of that is when someone's trying to break into your home at 4:30 in the morning on East Washington Street and German Church Road, or wherever else it is you happen to be. And I just want to make sure that people really understand not only what the law is in this area and that applies to this shooting. And listen, everybody looks at this and said fully justified. Now, a lot of them believe, a lot of people at least commenting on social media believe that it's fully justified for the wrong reasons. And a lot of them are, were commenting on the WTHR post that had the link to their article on this, and even commenting on how they would respond to law enforcement, to responding law enforcement at the scene, what they would say, what they would not say. And some of it was okay, some of it not so much. But I thought that was just a good opportunity. And I talk about the Castle Doctrine here often. Again, it's such a critical part of the law anywhere in the country, certainly here in Indiana, and I want to make sure people understand how it works. And for instance, a lot of people were commenting, I would just say I feared for my life and then shut the hell up. And one person was gracious enough to say, I would say, officer, I've been through a traumatic event, and I'll be willing to talk to you after I've hired Guy Relford. I give a little love to that comment on social media because it was much appreciated. But there were a lot of other comments. A lot of people kept talking about, just keep repeating, I feared for my life, I feared for my life, I feared for my life. And listen, is that a bad thing? No, it's not. But it tells me that someone doesn't have a complete understanding of Indiana law in this area. And why is that? Because the Castle Doctrine provision of the Indiana Self-Defense Statute, and I, again, talk about this often, the Castle Doctrine component, and the only reason we call it the Castle Doctrine is that's not what the legislature called it when they passed it many years ago. They called it justified use of force in self-defense, and then there are various subsections of that. One is the General Self-Defense Statute. Another is the one that applies to you in your dwelling or home. And by the way, dwelling, your home, I mentioned, very important. Dwelling can be permanent or temporary, movable or fixed. What do I mean by all that? Well, your home, your house, or your apartment where you live, it's listed on your driver's license. Your legal residence, that's obviously your dwelling. What about when you're staying in a hotel room? That hotel room, not the whole hotel, but the room is your dwelling. What about when you drive your RV and park your RV in the campground and are sleeping or eating or barbecuing or whatever it is you might be doing in your RV? That RV is your dwelling while you're doing those same things you do in your house, your home, your apartment, or wherever it is you live, eating, drinking, sleeping, cooking. That's your dwelling. Now, when you're driving down the road in your RV, that's your motor vehicle and is treated as a motor vehicle. Interestingly enough, the Castle Doctrine applies not only to your dwelling, but your occupied motor vehicle. But this was at a private residence, a shooting 4:30 yesterday morning in Cumberland, east of Indianapolis. And it was where this person lived. All right. And again, the whole provision says you're justified in using reasonable force, including deadly force, if you reasonably believe that force is necessary to prevent or terminate an unlawful entry into or attack on your dwelling. We'll stop there. Where in that, and that's the whole provision, the whole subsection, except that they add one more line, justified in using deadly force with no duty to retreat. That's what makes it a stand your ground law. You don't have to run out the back door if someone breaks into your home. The no duty to retreat is exactly what makes our law, or at least what makes it fall into the general category of a stand your ground law, because of the line, one line, no duty to retreat. But what people don't seem to understand, and this isn't a horrible thing, and I'm not saying it's going to get somebody put in jail, but people kept saying, I would repeat, I feared for my life, I feared for my life. And I've already gone through the whole provisions of the Castle Doctrine twice. Where in there did you hear that the person feared for their safety, that they feared death or serious bodily injury? Now, that's in the General Self-Defense Statute. And to all these people's credit, the General Self-Defense Statute also applies to you in your home. So if you use reasonable force, including deadly force, to prevent serious bodily injury to you or another person, there's nothing that says that doesn't apply to you in your home. So I feared for my life. I feared for my life. Okay, the General Self-Defense Statute or subsection of the statute applies to you in your home as well. But my point in this is it in your home. That's what makes this your Castle Doctrine. That's what makes it different. In your home, you don't have to fear injury. You don't have to fear getting hurt. The person doesn't have to be armed. I'm not advocating for more and more people to be violent. I'm not encouraging you to pull triggers and end lives. That's not my point at all. I'm trying to explain how the law functions in this area. You do not need to fear injury. You do not need to fear harm under the Castle Doctrine. Doesn't hurt to apply the general self-defense principles as well, that you reasonably believe that deadly force is necessary to prevent serious bodily injury. But it's not necessary. So what is necessary? That the person broke in, that they did not have permission to be there, that they kicked your door in, that it was, in other words, an unlawful entry. That's what's key. Person came in, they were attempting to get in, because the word prevent is in the statute as well. You can prevent an unlawful entry. A person's trying to get in. Now, this doesn't mean they're just standing in the yard or walking up the driveway. They're actively attempting to break into your house. You can prevent an unlawful entry into your home with deadly force. Has to be unlawful. When is entry into your home not unlawful? When you've given the person a key, when their name's on the lease or the deed, when they're invited, when you've established a custom of them coming and going from your home with no further permission required. But if this is a stranger, certainly, or even not a stranger, but someone who's does not have permission to come into your home, their name's not on the deed, they don't have a key, they don't come and go as a matter of custom and practice. They're breaking into your home. Now, do they have to break into your home? In some statutes, they call breaking and entering, they call the crime of entering someone's home unlawfully, they call breaking and entering, because essentially they have to break something in some states. They have to kick the door in. They have to break the lock. Is that true in Indiana? No, we have a crime not called breaking and entering in Indiana. You know what it's called in Indiana? It's called residential entry. What's that? It means somebody's unlawfully, without permission, without authorization, has unlawfully entered your home. Do they have to break anything? No. Do they have to kick the door in? No. Can they walk through an unlocked door and have it still be unlawful? Yes. Because they don't have permission to be in your home. And listen, I try to do a very good job of locking all the doors in my house. Are all the doors locked in my house all the time? I would like to say yes, but I have to admit that occasionally I drop the ball on that, or someone else in my home does. Does that mean someone who walks in through an unlocked door is legally in my home? No. They're committing the crime of unlawful entry, of residential entry, we call it, and it's an unlawful entry for purposes of the Castle Doctrine. So my point in all of that is just to reinforce to people what the rules are in your home. You can prevent or terminate an unlawful entry. The key is that it is, in fact, an unlawful entry. Now, the word necessary is critical there, too. And I've mentioned this on the show before. What if they come in, they see you stand there next to your bed with a 870, and they say, whoa, it's a bad time to be a home invader, and they're running for the front door. And I use that example in another context, talking about a different case not so long ago here on the show. Well, is any force necessary to prevent or terminate an unlawful entry when they're already running out the door? Probably not. Necessary is an important component. But I wanted to address that situation. And listen, I'm not one, if you listen to the Gun Guy Show, you know me well enough to know this. I'm not one who celebrates any loss of life. I mean, this person was shot in the head. They're in critical condition. I don't know if they're going to survive or not. And a lot of people, and this is so much social media bravado, and I get that. A lot of people seem to be celebrating that. I don't celebrate any of that. I'm not built. I wasn't raised by my dad, the Methodist pastor. I was not raised to celebrate any loss of life or anybody getting hurt. As between a law-abiding homeowner minding their own business at 4:30 in the morning and some idiot who just kicked their door in or otherwise broke into their home, hey, I'm rooting for the homeowner every time. And I'm absolutely relieved that it was the bad guy who got shot, not an innocent person in that home. But I also want to look at that and say, all right, what's the lesson here? And I think one of the most important things you can do, and I talk about this in my self-defense classes that I've taught for a lot of years. I think any scenario like this, and if more details come out, and I would love to know more details, I always want to look at these what-if scenarios. In other words, what happened here? What if that happened at my home at 4:30 in the morning? Based on where they came in, where the person not only entered the home, but where they went once they entered the home. Where would I be in that moment? Well, 4:30 in the morning, I'm very likely. I'm either in bed asleep or I'm going to the bathroom. As an old guy, one or the other. All right. Say I just wandered into the bathroom. I hear the door kick open. Am I going to be in a position to defend my family in that moment? I like using those situations to say, what if that happened in my home? Would I have the same capacity, the same wherewithal, same training, same marksmanship, the same availability of the tools I need to defend my home and my family at 4:30 in the morning when it happened. Well, yeah. I mean, there's a suppressed SPR hanging on my bed frame. But I like to apply the what-if scenario to say, how would I have responded? That's what I get out of these. I also look at them, obviously, from a legal perspective and say, what rules of self-defense apply? And then it's fun to come on the radio and share all of that with you as well. We're way past the quarter hour. It's time to take a break. I want to take your calls. We'll talk about self-defense. We'll talk about the Castle Doctrine or anything else Second Amendment related. Give me a call. Join the discussion. 317-239-9393. 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
5 people shot across Indianapolis last night.
116 people have been arrested.
93 WIBC.
Drug offenses, weapons violations, and murder charges.
The shooter spent months planning this attack that was meant to kill.
Stay in the know.
One of the worst human beings in the country.
While you're on the go.
It's not going to happen. And if it does happen, it's the death penalty.
It was a home invasion. The homeowner shot a man.
Fear is the tool of a tyrant, but I'm not afraid.
There was some resistance on the Chinese side.
On air, online, and on Alexa.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our next Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class is coming up Saturday, October 18th. It's going to be at Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range in Avon, right there on Kingston Street, conveniently located west side of Indy in Avon, 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. So 5 hours of the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner, including a very deep drill on the law of self-defense, which I'm talking about a bit tonight, as well as a lot of other issues. You know, there are places that you absolutely cannot legally carry a gun, but there's no sign telling you that. You just have to know. Other places, there's a great big old sign that says no guns allowed, but it's totally legal to carry there. How do you tell the difference? Because in some cases it's a felony, some it's no crime at all. You just have to know. That's what we cover and a whole heck of a lot more in Essentials of Indiana Gun Law. Sign up for the course in Avon coming up on October 18th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. We'd love to see you there. Go to tactical-firearms.com and click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
Whether it's the good food or the friendly mood, you can count on Indiana to never lose when it comes to tailgating. And we want to see you at every game. That's why Hubler's got you covered with the best warranty around. So kick off the season in a Hubler quality pre-owned vehicle. Right now, you can buy with zero down. Choose from over 2,000 cars, trucks, and SUVs. Plus, every Hubler Q-certified vehicle is covered by a 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Includes a 128-point vehicle inspection and a free Carfax history report. We'll pay top dollar for your trade. Bring Hubler your old car for an immediate appraisal. Zero down delivers, and Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles.
Hubler's got you covered.
Visit drivehubler.com or any of our 13 convenient locations.
Cover me!
Select models, approved credit. Warranty on select models less than 9 years old.
Change is always happening. It's part of life. And when it comes to music, change is all around us. Songs are rewritten. Classics are remixed. Bands and artists come and go. Even our taste in music changes. Here at Xfinity, we know there's still good in keeping some things the same. That's why we want to do our part with a 5-year price guarantee on our internet. It means no matter what changes, you get 5 years of the most reliable Wi-Fi with our best equipment included for a price that stays exactly the same. Surprised? Life is full of them. One internet price, 5 years, guaranteed. Learn more at xfinity.com/deals. Restrictions apply. New residential customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. Most reliable Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA. Fixed Broadband Experience Report, August 2024.
Stop settling for weak sound. It's time to level up your game and bring the boom. Hit the town with the ultra-durable LG X Boom portable speaker and enjoy vibrant sound wherever you go. Elevate your listening experience to new heights because, let's be real, your music deserves it. The future of sound is now with LG X Boom. And for a limited time, save 25% at LG.com with code FALL25. Bring the boom. X Boom.
David was in big trouble with the IRS.
At first, I didn't owe that much, but after this year, it was out of control.
Then David called Get a Tax Lawyer.
Right away, they were like, oh yeah, looks like you're qualified to save.
Get a Tax Lawyer went to work.
Should have called way sooner.
Get a Tax Lawyer has helped thousands like David fight the IRS and get a fresh start.
Call 800-745-3070. That's 800-745-3070.
Stuck in a job that just isn't getting it done? Maybe it's time to go for IT. Whether you're just starting out, switching careers, or a military veteran ready for change, My Computer Career can help you launch a rewarding career in IT in months. No prior experience needed. Why spend years getting a traditional degree when your future in IT can start right now? Take the free career evaluation at mycomputercareer.edu today. Your most powerful upgrade? Your career. Go for it. Go for IT. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Trust our family to take care of your family. Call us today for our family maintenance plan at 317-577-8077.
Family Heating and Air is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. And I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I was reading on bearingarms.com, and I got to tell you, I go to bearingarms.com a lot. I'm really a big fan of that site, and they do a nice job, and they really cover issues going on all around the country on Second Amendment issues. But I was reading on that site, and they gave me the link to an article on MSN, and MSN, I thought, actually did a fairly decent job of covering it. But they're talking about a left-wing, and of course there's some description of them as radical left-wing gun club that has been organized, and I do not know, and it really wasn't covered in the article, how long they've been around. But the article talks about the fact that they are now, and this is a group called the John Brown Gun Club. And if you remember John Brown, and there are a couple of great movies out there about John Brown. I just watched one recently that was fairly recently produced. But he was an abolitionist. He very ardently anti-slavery. And I think based in Kansas, if I recall. And was not shy about using violence to pursue his agenda. And he was out to abolish slavery, and by all reports, a lot of reports of this guy being a pretty violent guy. And the John Brown Gun Club, I think, chose its name in no small part specifically because, and obviously I'm speculating here to some degree, because of John Brown's history and reputation for violence. And in trying to recruit members on college campuses, and again, they call themselves a gun club, they are passing out a flyer, and the article I read was talking about them recruiting people on Georgetown. And Georgetown University's campus in Washington, D.C. And they were handing out flyers with a big headline on this flyer. It said, "Hey, fascist!" ! Catch! ! And then the subtitle on this thing, and then there's a QR code, which I'm sure you can scan with your phone and go to a website for these folks. The subtitle, though, is "The only political group that celebrates when Nazis die." So if the "Hey, fascist, catch!" phrase sounds familiar to you, it's because that's what the person who allegedly assassinated Charlie Kirk had inscribed on one of his shell casings that were still in his rifle that was discovered after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. "Hey, fascist, catch!" So let's review. You've got a left-wing organization that comes right out and says they're the only political group that celebrates when Nazis die, and using "Hey Fascist Catch," which was specifically used by the alleged assassin who killed Charlie Kirk. I think by inference, I don't think it's a stretch to say, okay, they're calling Charlie Kirk a Nazi. And I think it's further not a stretch to go the next step and say that people who admire, follow Charlie Kirk, I'm sure would be labeled as fascists as well. So the John Brown Gun Club passing out flyers to recruit student members of Hey Fascist Catch, saying that they celebrate when Nazis die. Is this a declaration that they're a violent group? And if it is a declaration that they're a violent group, how should those of us who advocate for Second Amendment rights, because again, this is according to their name, a gun club. And they've posted pictures of themselves, and I've not gone to their website. But as I understand it, you go to their website, and they've got pictures of themselves functioning essentially as a quote-unquote militia. So a left-wing militia called the John Brown Gun Club. How should we feel about that? How should I feel about that is what's been going through my mind as someone who celebrates Second Amendment rights practiced by Americans every day and advocates for that and defends that, fights for that very, very hard. And I've been doing that for a very long time. How do I feel about the John Brown Gun Club? How do you feel about a quote-unquote radical left-wing organization called the John Brown Gun Club passing out flyers that say, "Hey, Fascist Catch, we're the only political group that celebrates when Nazis die"? Give us a call. Join the discussion. Here, we're going to take a break at the bottom of the hour. I'll go into that when we come back. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
It's another week of this.
There's a very good chance that we'll have a settlement.
And another day for this.
Water rose 28 foot in 45 minutes.
Plus, another possibility of this.
Monitor the weather condition, the National Weather Service.
That's why another update is just minutes away.
Start saying we're not taking this anymore.
Just another day. Not with all this happening. Every day.
Happening now.
93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
We still have plenty of days left to enjoy our backyard spaces. It's Terry Stacy, and thanks to Premier Deck Coating, our deck is protected from the harsh environment fall and winter bring. Harsh because our deck is surrounded by black walnut trees, so nuts have always stained our deck. We just don't have that problem anymore because of Premier Deck Coating. Our 25-year-old deck looks brand new, and it's not. Locally owned Premier Deck Coating is the ultimate deck protection. Their special formulated product repels mold and moisture, scratch resistant, all backed by a 10-year guarantee. Premier Deck Coating takes care of sanding the wood. They repair the damaged boards in preparation before they apply the special formulated coating. They can also do the same for pergolas and fences. You truly will be thrilled with the results. No more painting year after year, easy to take care of, and that saves time and money. Premier Deck Coating, the ultimate deck protection. There's still time to get you on the schedule before the year ends. For a free quote, visit premierdeckcoating.com.
Everyone knows that PA Jewelers in Brownsburg is the place to get one-of-a-kind jewelry pieces. Diamonds, gold, gemstones, watches, everything. But PA Jewelers at the farmhouse is also the place to sell your jewelry, your watches, your coins, or bullion. PA Jewelers has the best prices and the best payouts. And they walk you through the process so you know what your pieces are worth and what you're getting. PA Jewelers at the farmhouse, 3750 South Green Street in Brownsburg, or online at pajewelers.jewelry. That's pajewelers.jewelry.
Welcome to Tire Discounters. Oh, hiya, Phantom.
Mike, I think I saw a fox on my way in.
Oh, that was the Carfax Carfox. He was congratulating us on our Carfax Top-Rated Service Center Award.
I have always rated Tire Discounters at the very top.
Oh, thanks. So does Carfax. And not just for tires, but for all our services, too.
Alignment, brakes, shocks and struts, and more.
Yes, sir.
But, Mike, do you think people believe Carfax over me?
Well, you are the Phantom tire buyer.
Exactly.
This hour powered by Family Heating and Air, your American Standard Air dealer. Nobody cares for you like family.
Fox News, I'm Roger Stern. President Trump is deploying troops to Portland, Oregon because of anti-ICE protests in the city.
President Trump has been focused on taking down what he calls domestic terrorism networks in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, and he has been focusing on left-leaning groups.
Fox's Madeline Rivera, the president is authorizing the use of full force with no public definition of what that means. What will likely become Hurricane Imelda is threatening the southeastern U.S. While it may be turning, the threat is still real.
Landfall now is looking less and less likely, but we will still have impacts. Even though the Carolina coast is not on the cone, you can still have impacts outside of the cone. One of those is rainfall. Flood watches will probably go up, and there'll be some flash flooding.
Fox Weather's Mike Seidel. America is listening to Fox News.
The deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at the Stoutfield National Guard Armory on West Minnesota Street. The best dealers in the region, hundreds of tables, just $6 for adults, kids 12 and under free. Must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. Next Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Stoutfield National Guard Armory. For more info, visit CentralIndianaGunShows.com.
Attention Indiana homeowners, are you dealing with a wet and moldy crawl space? Hi, I'm Adam Swain with Swain Co. Crawl Space and Basement Repair, your real, local, Indiana family-owned experts dedicated to fixing your crawl space right the first time. And with our new no interest, no payment financing, you can get the repairs you need without breaking the bank. Don't let crawl space water problems dampen your spirits. Call Swain Co., Indy's most trusted waterproofing experts at 317-407-1868 or SwainCoLLC.com.
The fall planting season is here, and Sundown Gardens wants to help you with all your landscape needs. The nursery lot is bursting with a high-quality selection of trees and shrubs, and there are some selections up to 50% off. Now's a great time to take advantage of season-ending sales, too. Herbaceous perennials 30 to 50% off, and pottery 50% off. Sundown Gardens, located on the corner of 186th Street and Spring Mill Road in Westfield. SundownGardens.com. That's SundownGardens.com.
Bet365 is paying out before the final whistle.
Check out Bet365's unrivaled early payout offer. When you bet on a team to win and they take a 17-point lead, you get paid no matter the final score. Forget the final whistle and start counting that cash. Hold up. You get early payout on parlays, too.
Download the app and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Indiana. T&Cs apply.
The show about gun rights, gun safety, and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Talking about the John Brown Gun Club, far left-wing organization, declaring that they like to celebrate when Nazis die, with a not-so-indirect reference to Charlie Kirk. And they're looking for members. They're looking for members on college campuses. And I asked myself a question as soon as I saw this, and I hadn't heard anything about the John Brown Gun Club until I saw something maybe 2-3 nights ago on the news about it. And then I saw this article about how they're recruiting members with this flyer with "Hey Fascist, Catch," a reference to the Charlie Kirk assassin and what he had engraved on one of the cartridges found in his rifle, allegedly. And I immediately started asking myself, all right, Guy, how you feel about this? And I hearkened back to not so long ago, we had a group, they called themselves NFAC, and that stood for the Not Effing Around Coalition, with effing being the actual word you can't say on radio. And so the NFAC, led by a guy, John Grandmaster J. Johnson, which harkens me back, I'll show my age. You don't have to call me Ray. You don't have to call me Ray J. You don't have to call me Johnson. You remember that whole thing? But anyway, Grandmaster J. Johnson led the NFAC, and they were, what they called themselves anyway, was a black militia. And they had a march in Louisville. And it was a bit of a protest. And they had a whole big number of people, and they were dressed sort of in BDUs. A lot of them, pretty much all of them that I saw, were carrying long guns, had sidearms on their hip. A lot of them carrying AR-style guns. And they called themselves a militia. They called themselves the NFAC. And they made the news not just because they had I think a good-sized march and protest in Louisville, but they also had what they were calling an accidental discharge. If you listen to the Gun Guy show, you'd call it a negligent discharge, but somebody dropped their gun, apparently, who was part of this militia. Gun went off and 3 people got wounded. But that isn't even really my point. I mean, we could perhaps poke some fun at them for having members that don't know how to safely handle a firearm, resulting in some of their own people getting shot. But that's a side issue. The same thing happened. People were posting about this and saying they felt very threatened, and that, even I saw comments on social media saying, well, these people shouldn't be allowed to be armed like this or march through downtown Louisville like this, or to quote-unquote threaten people by carrying their long guns. And my first reaction to all of that was, well, hell no. I mean, how much of a hypocrite do I have to be if I say the Second Amendment only applies to me and those people that I agree with politically? You can't say that. On my worst day, I haven't been that hypocritical. I said I absolutely support these people's ability, their right under the Second Amendment. To protest, that's their First Amendment right. To organize, to peaceably assemble, that's their First Amendment right. To carry their guns while they're doing so, I don't know that that's the best way to accomplish their political objectives, but that's not the point. They have an absolute right to do it. And I said it, and some people, I think, disagreed with me. I didn't much care. Well, these people are trying to intimidate law-abiding citizens. Well, that's what we get accused of all the time. Just people who carry guns. I'm not an open carry guy, but I absolutely would fight for anybody's right to do it where it's legal, and it certainly is here in Indiana, including open carrying your long gun. I question what it really accomplishes in terms of advocacy for Second Amendment rights, but that doesn't mean I'm going to say someone doesn't have an absolute legal right to do it. And I said the same thing about the NFAC black militia that marched through Louisville in 2020. I haven't heard much about those people. I don't know if they disbanded. They're still around. And people seem to be intimidated by the fact that they were a quote-unquote militia. Hell, let's think about that a minute. How does the Second Amendment start? Citizen soldiers are allowed to gather together in this country and to train and to arm themselves and to become proficient. That's what being well regulated is within the meaning of the Second Amendment. And that applies to the NFAC exactly as much as it applies to me or any organizations I'm a member of. And to go the next step, it applies absolutely without any question to the John Brown Gun Club. Now, these people, quote unquote, celebrate when Nazis die. Is that a threat? Not directly, no. They didn't come out and say they're going to kill people they define as Nazis with an identification of who that would include. You and I can all guess at that and probably come pretty close, particularly since they have the reference to the Charlie Kirk assassination with the "Hey, fascist, catch" reference. But that doesn't go the next step to being actionable, I think, as a threat or to constitute what we would call in Indiana as intimidation, which is threatening someone with a particular objective. You threaten someone with a deadly weapon. Our statute says, well, using or drawing a deadly weapon, that's a felony in Indiana. Does that fall within that category? No, I don't think so. Celebrating when some person you don't like dies, I mean, did I celebrate to some degree when Osama bin Laden was killed? Yeah, I think you could characterize that as a celebration. I'm sure there are people in the Muslim world who would think that was terrible of me. So that doesn't get you there. So do I support the John Brown Gun Club in terms of their ability to arm themselves, to form themselves a militia, and to participate in the political process, including to gather, to have protests, to have marches? 100%. No reservation. You betcha. However, the existence of a group like the John Brown Gun Club also tells me that there are people on the other side of the aisle who are apparently, at least indirectly, advocating violence. I mean, it doesn't, to use a phrase Grandpa Relford used to say all the time, it don't take no gypsy to read those tea leaves. To call themselves the John Brown Gun Club, to call themselves a far left-wing militia, and to put out flyers, as I've described, tells me their intent is to be a violent group. Or maybe it's just to intimidate indirectly by making us think they're a violent group. Either way, does that make me more and more likely? And given the left of the violence here generally, and I'm not talking about violence that we can speculate about, like with the John Brown Gun Club, I'm talking about actual violence we've seen. The assassination attempts on Charlie Kirk, the assassination attempts at the Senate softball or baseball practice that horribly wounded Steve Scalise. I'm still surprised that he survived, and many thought he wouldn't during his long rehabilitation. And over and over and over again, the violence we see from the left, and then now with quote-unquote militias arising on that side of the aisle, does that tell me they don't have the right to do what they're doing? Well, you don't have the right to use violence. But back to what we've seen so far anyway from this particular gun club, they absolutely have a right to do what they're doing. But what's it tell me? It tells me that the urgency associated with my own ability to protect my community, protect my home, protect my family is absolutely as paramount as I've known it's been for a long time. Circumstances are such, I think more and more people are going to wake up to the idea that at some point you may have to defend yourself and have the capacity to defend yourself. And to not rely on 911. Police are the first to tell you that they can't be everywhere, and their response time often is such that they're cleaning up after the fact. What's that tell you? It tells you the absolute essential nature, the absolute necessity of having the capacity to defend yourself, your family, and your home when the need arises. The fact there are groups like this rising up doesn't mean they're not entitled to do what they're doing currently. It just means that at least indirect threat tells us the urgency associated with the capacity to defend yourself has just taken another step, I think, toward being extremely urgent. I'll tell you what, we're going to have an incredibly short segment. If we have one at all, we come back. I've gone past the 3/4 hour. Let's take a break. Come back for the Gun Guy Show here in just a bit. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
Soybean farmers, they're entering harvest season and they're going to be struggling because the largest buyer of soybeans is who?
China. As someone who's spent their entire adult life poking various sized bears, you just got to accept, sadly, I think our farmers are paying for what Donald Trump is doing in the trade wars.
Kendall and Casey, weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for the law offices of Guy Relford. If you're interested in a restoration of rights, like an expungement, in order to regain your Second Amendment rights, contact us through the website, relfordlaw.com. We can discuss whether we can assist you in getting your Second Amendment rights back after a conviction, some felony convictions, for instance. We can expunge and restore your rights. Check us out at relfordlaw.com.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
At Andy Moore Ford, you're going to get more. Much, much more. With the Get More Guarantee, you always get more savings, more selection, and more for your trade. Buy your vehicle 100% online. Just go to Andy Moore, M-O-H-R, AndyMooreFord.com, and Andy Moore will deliver that car right to your door. Drive off in a new Ford F-150 XL truck for under $40,000 with over 100 vehicles to choose from. And if you rely on commercial trucks for your business, you have to check out Andy Moore Ford. The whole commercial center they've built to make sure your Ford truck or van fits your business needs is absolutely incredible. From medium to heavy-duty F-Series trucks. And they've got the biggest selection of Super Duty trucks in the state. Over 175 Super Duty trucks on the ground and ready to work for you. Talk to Andy Moore Ford, 2713 East Main Street in Plainfield, or online at Andy Moore Ford, M-O-H-R. I love Andy. AndyMooreFord.com.
Hi, I'm Dustin, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company. I know finding a dream engagement ring can be overwhelming, but don't worry, we got you. As director of diamond sourcing, it's my job to make sure every single diamond at Shane Company is truly the best of the best. Our team travels the world to see diamonds up close, in person. We handpick each one for its unique fire, brilliance, and scintillation. Diamond buying is an art. Of course, we look at cut, color, clarity, and carat, known as the 4 C's. But that's not all. We also look at how each diamond looks on a hand, where it will be worn, how it makes you feel, and if it's worthy of a Shane Company customer. That type of expertise only comes from working for a company that's been a family business since 1929. We also think about your budget. We only pick the best in each grade in all shapes and sizes. Your diamond is guaranteed to be the most beautiful because a friend wants you to pick from only the best. Drop by your store or shaneco.com and see for yourself. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Children are placed in foster care through no fault of their own. Because of abuse or neglect, it's heartbreaking.
We were just left in a hotel.
Tay and his brothers were adopted with help from the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption. But more than 100,000 children in the U.S. are still waiting for a family.
Now that I'm adopted, I can focus on being a kid.
Learn how you can help at davethomasfoundation.org.
Head online to the contest page at WIBC.com and enter for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Trans-Siberian Orchestra Thursday, December 4th at Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
Your rights, your responsibilities, your guns. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. After we break at the top of the hour, come back, we're going to shift gears a little bit. Talk about this shooting at an ICE facility in Dallas. And it's really kind of amazing to me how when we see these radical left-wing folks, like the person, I always want to call him a kid. He's in his 20s, so clearly he's an adult. But the person who allegedly killed Charlie Kirk. I mean, after just a little bit of a delay and some initial confusion, it came out, and it was, I think, confirmed from multiple different sources that this person had been radicalized and had extremely left-wing leanings, that was upset in particular at Charlie Kirk, not only for being a conservative generally, but for disputing the idea that a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man, and that was primarily because this same person was in a romantic relationship with someone who was transitioning, quote unquote, as I understand it, from a man to a woman. And what did we see, though? And this is one of the reasons the big kerfuffle, there's a word that show my age, arose over Jimmy Fallon. Come out and say, oh, obviously this is one of the MAGA people, and they're doing everything they can to deny that he was one of theirs. The ICE shooting is another example, the ICE shooting in Dallas, of how the left tries to spin these things. And that's what we'll talk about when we come back. Right now, we're breaking at the top of the hour. We'll be right back. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Zillow ranks Indianapolis number 2 among 2025's hottest markets. Home values have risen and are holding strong. Now is a great time to sell. Hire the team with proven systems to maximize your equity. Sell your home with Mark Dietel. Maybe you want a fast, guaranteed, no-hassle home sale, but don't want to give up hard-earned equity to do it. Mark Dietel guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed-upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Listen to what Sarah in Fountain Square had to say about working with Mark Dietel. After investing in a property in Fountain Square, I ran into some financial trouble and needed to sell the place fast for maximum dollars. I hired the Mark Dietel team, and they were able to sell my property within weeks over list price. Call the local Indianapolis agent I trust and recommend, and the agent who guarantees your home sold or he'll buy it. Call Mark Dietel at 317-755-4232 for all the details, or go online to markdietel.com. That's Mark, DIETEL.com. Tell him Rob sent you.
My name's Craig Landers. I'm a union laborer for Local 120, and I'm a member of the Veterans Steering Committee and been retired for 7 years.
For members of the Laborers International Union of North America, giving back is part of their commitment to the Indy community.
I like to help veterans and family downtown. Part of the building burnt down that housed the veterans that lived there. So we donated money to help out. They lost everything they had. I mean, they didn't have much, but they lost what they did have.
When the Indy community needs help, LIUNA steps up.
People bring in clothes and shoes and food. We had a couple of car shows and donated the proceeds to the Veteran Suicide Prevention.
This is Chris Brickey, Business Manager of Labor's Local 120. While all our members are skilled, highly trained men and women, we are also your friends, neighbors, Little League coaches, and volunteers here in Indy.
Pretty good to help them guys out. That's a good feeling to help people out.
We build Indy for good jobs and stronger communities. We are LIUNA Local 120.
You know exactly why you need to remodel that kitchen of yours. The space, it's outdated. You can't move around like you used to. It doesn't work like it needs to. You want to entertain and you want to improve your quality of life. This can happen, just not with the kitchen you have. You need to call Booher Remodeling, B-O-O-H-E-R, BooherRemodeling.com. They can take that old kitchen that's deteriorating and broken down and turn it into something that works for you and your family. Their 5-step design process from start to finish, the consultation, the preliminary design, the design development, getting all the documents together, and then getting it done. The best materials, the most skilled craftsmen in Central Indiana. Booher Remodeling will guide you through the entire process, starting with the free initial consultation, and they stand behind their work with a 2-year workmanship guarantee. Create that new kitchen. Design experts can use an existing layout or begin completely from scratch. Talk to Booher Remodeling today. B-O-O-H-E-R. BooherRemodeling.com. That's BooherRemodeling.com.
Broadcasting from the Technology Recycler Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News, 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
Stern Fox News. President Trump sending troops to Portland to tackle political violence. Fox's Madeline Rivera at the White House.
President Trump has been focused on taking down what he calls domestic terrorism networks in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, and he has been focusing on left-leaning groups. The president saying on Truth Social that he is directing his Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, to provide troops to Portland and any other ICE facilities that he says are under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists. He says he's authorizing full force if necessary. The city's mayor reported seeing armored vehicles and more federal agents in the city. He says they did not ask them to come.
Domestic violence has included attacks on ICE agents and the assassination of Turning Point founder Charlie Kirk. A tropical storm and possible future hurricane could hit the Carolinas next week. Fox Weather's Mike Seidel in Folly Beach, South Carolina.
It will become Tropical Storm Imelda and then forecast to become a minimal hurricane by the early part of the week. It's going to take from now until Tuesday to get it due east of Jacksonville. So we're a long way from anything here in South Carolina, but the track comes up, stalls, and then goes right out to sea. Landfall now is looking less and less likely, but we will still have impacts even though the Carolina coast is not in the cone. You can still have impacts outside of the cone. One of those is rainfall. Flood watches will probably go up and there'll be some flash flooding. Winds may gust to hurricane force, 74 miles an hour. This is all going to be ironed out in the coming days.
For updates, download the Fox Weather app. The U.S. is revoking the visa for the president of Colombia. This after a protest in New York, where the Colombian president called on the U.S. military to disobey President Trump's orders. America is listening to Fox News.
You never know who might be taking the quiz.
I'm Clay Aiken.
I am Dre DeMatteo.
Hey, everybody, it's Billy Baldwin.
Hey, everyone, it's Patricia Heaton.
Hey, everyone, I'm Nicole Palizzi.
Hey, everyone, it's Candace Bushnell.
Hey, everyone, it's Henry Golding.
Hey, everyone, it's Zachary Levi. Hey, everybody, it's Kevin Nealon, and it's time to take the quiz.
5 questions in less than 5 minutes every day. Listen and follow at thequiz.fox.
Thank you for taking the quiz.
Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The Voices America trusts. Download it now.
President Trump predicting there will be others after the indictment of
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Connecting him to 2 shootings. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending this hour. Muncie police say they've arrested an Indianapolis man who they believe is tied to 2 shootings from the same night earlier this month. The first shooting left 1 man dead and another person injured at an apartment complex. The second shooting happened in the parking lot of a convenience store. The 21-year-old suspect was arrested in Anderson on felony warrants and may face additional charges relating to the shootings. The Indiana congressional delegation coming together for a need that affects the whole state. Johnette Cruz reports.
A bipartisan group of Indiana lawmakers is pushing for maximum federal funding to address a rural health care crisis. Senator Todd Young and Representative Rudy Yakum led a letter to HHS signed by a majority of the delegation urging funds from a new $50 billion program be sent to Indiana. The letter cites serious challenges, including 5 rural hospitals at risk for closure and 71 counties with provider shortages. They say the investment is vital to supporting the 1.5 million Hoosiers who rely on rural health care. Johnette Cruz, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Daniel Jones and the Indianapolis Colts are looking to stay unbeaten as they visit Matthew Stafford and the LA Rams in Inglewood Sunday.
We're all excited. It's a really good football team. Team that's been at the top of the league for a number of years consistently, so we'll need to go out and play well.
Jones has 6 total touchdowns through the first 3 games. The Rams are 2-1, coming off a loss to Philadelphia last week. Kickoff is at 4 o'clock Eastern time. And the Indiana Fever facing elimination. They're down 2-1 to the Las Vegas Aces. Game 4 at Gainbridge Fieldhouse will tip off at 3:30. I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level, on the go, and at WIBC.com. The forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
On Sunday, mostly sunny skies, high temperatures once again getting into the mid-80s. No rain chances expected over the next 7 days as temperatures will be checking in consistently above average. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
Talking on the phone is difficult if you've been exposed to loud noises over time. Combat veterans, factory workers, farmers, gun and motorcycle enthusiasts can have trouble hearing on the telephone. Relay Indiana helps return clarity to your phone conversations. A free service providing telecom accessibility, Relay Indiana allows hard of hearing users to have normal phone conversations through specially trained relay operators. Relay Indiana also provides free loaned equipment to those who qualify. Get the captioned telephone from Relay Indiana. Visit RelayIndiana.com now.
Seems like there's more identity theft in the news every day.
Another major healthcare breach was reported today, resulting in the exposure.
Now 1 in 4 consumers have been a victim of identity theft.
That's because there are endless places that could accidentally expose you to identity theft, in a breach, or simply by mistake. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Save big at the season-ending fall sale at Sundown Gardens. Herbaceous perennials 30 to 50% off, pottery 50% off. 186th Street and Spring Mill Road in Westfield.
The Indianapolis Public Library. More than just books. Visit your local branch today.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment. And this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for hour number 2 of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. So the Dallas ICE shooting. That is an attack on an ICE facility by someone who clearly was targeting ICE agents who had anti-ICE, literally anti-ICE, engraved on at least one of his cartridges. And opened fire on an ICE facility where they were holding detainees, by the way. And in fact, the people who got shot were actually detainees and not ICE agents. And so, of course, immediately, the leftist press came out and reported this as clearly being, you know, another MAGA, or another conservative, another person who somehow hated immigrants in this country and was attacking the immigrants by shooting at them at an ICE facility. And just like in the Charlie Kirk shooting, the Charlie Kirk murder, the immediate reports that came out were verified, established to be completely false and inaccurate, misleading, and probably intentionally so, where it came out the guy had a history and a documented history of being upset about ICE, upset about Immigration's Customs Enforcement, and about the fact that ICE was engaged, as President Trump promised they would be, engaged in the process of deporting, of finding, detaining, and then deporting illegal aliens in this country. And he was upset about that. That's why he opened fire. He was clearly trying to kill ICE agents. He reportedly had a fairly crappy rifle and was a fairly crappy shot and shot the wrong people. He's upset on behalf of illegal immigrants in this country. So what does he do? He goes and shoots and kills. I think 2 died in that shooting attack, others wounded. The very people he was supposedly upset on behalf of. So, A, he's an idiot. B, he's a lousy shot. But watching the left spin this and watching the media spin this, I mean, if it wasn't completely frustrating, it would be funny. And what I actually did break out laughing about is somebody sent me the link to an article in the New York Post. And listen, I should not expect anything different from the New York Post. But the headline says, anti-ICE shooter, or at least they called him anti-ICE. So they're admitting here the guy was actually targeting ICE agents and not actual illegal aliens being detained. But shooter, and then they name him. I don't like to name these people. They're after notoriety. They're after fame, even in death. I will give that to him. But anti-ICE shooter blank, and this is the best part, used Nazi battle rifle in deadly Dallas attack. It says, experts. So Nazi battle rifle. Man, the left just cannot get away from the word Nazi, can they? I mean, every time you turn around. I mean, hell, on social media, just because I advocate for Second Amendment rights, and probably because I'm a white middle-aged male. Well, I can't really claim middle age anymore. I'm past middle age now. As I told my buddy Chuck the other day over lunch, I said, dude, I can't call myself middle-aged. I'm in the third quarter, maybe approaching the fourth. So halftime's over. But maybe just because of my demographic, however you want to assess it, I get called a Nazi. But man, they love that term. Nazi battle rifle. So is that another attempt that we keep saying to spin this, to say this guy had some kind of motivation or association or reference point with the quote-unquote Nazis because he was using a Nazi battle rifle? And by the way, is that an accurate description of this rifle? And what the hell are they talking about? And this is where I started to chuckle, because reportedly what the guy had, and this was a rifle he just obtained in August. He had a rifle that was sufficiently old, it's being called an antique, but it was an 8mm Mauser. And you may recall that the murderer of Charlie Kirk used a 30-06 Mauser. What's the connection? Well, it's the same manufacturer. It's a manufacturer obviously been around for a very long time. Is it an accurate description to call it a Nazi battle rifle? And again, we can only speculate as what the motivation of the Washington Post was in calling it that to begin with. I think they're clearly trying to point more figures to say, this guy must have had right leanings. He had some love affair with a Nazi battle rifle. He must be a Nazi, which by inference, in their minds, associates him with the right. Those of us firmly entrenched on the right have to find that a bit humorous. But is it an accurate description? Look, the 8mm Mauser, and again, another bolt-action rifle, as was used, different caliber, same manufacturer. And apparently the Mauser 30-06 used in Utah by the murderer of Charlie Kirk was, I think, quite a bit newer than what they're saying this guy had in Dallas. But the 8mm Mauser, yes, was developed in Germany in the late 1800s, like 1890-something. It was a primary infantry rifle during World War I, carried by the Germans. And it's been a while since I took European history. And I have not studied European history like I have American history. But I'm pretty sure that Nazis didn't come around until, say, the 1930s. And they weren't around for World War I when the Mauser 8mm of this particular vintage were being carried by German soldiers. Now, did some German soldiers also carry the Mauser 8mm in World War II? Yes. Were some of those German soldiers Nazis? I'm sure they were. So is there some hint of accuracy about that description? I suppose you could cling to that if you were so inclined. But the rifle was developed much earlier than that, was used much before that, was used extensively by German troops in World War I. And do I think that this guy went out and chose this particular rifle because he went, oh, yes, as a person leaning toward Nazi principles, it's practically romantic to select a Nazi battle rifle to do my evil deed that I'm planning? Absolutely not. That's a joke. I think he's reportedly 29 years old. I have no idea what his financial condition was. I can only guess. But if he's buying what's essentially an antique 8mm Mauser bolt action, he wasn't spending a lot of money. And I will offer a little bit of informed speculation that he's probably a broke-ass kid, 29, and that's what he could afford. Not because it had some romantic association with Nazis. And assuming that was his motivation to begin with, why on earth would he have a plan to then kill ICE agents in Dallas when it's ICE agents that are being called Nazis? Hell, was it Gavin Newsom, governor of California, was talking about them being the Gestapo? Those are Nazis. That's the association the left keeps trying to spin. That's the association they keep trying to establish that they want all of us out there to believe. Of course, it's nonsense. So to try to create some association between this idiot in Dallas, who not only is not particularly smart, but a really lousy shot, he chose his Nazi battle. I'm sorry. No, that shall not pass. I'll tell you what, we're at the quarter hour. Let's take a break. We'll shift gears again and take your calls. We had a couple people have called in and then dropped off for whatever reason, probably because I was in mid-rant. But feel free to join the discussion. Give us a call, 317-239-9393. 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
Weatherman upset that Trump cutting some funding to the National Weather Service.
The war on science.
Yeah, tell me more about that science that told me I had to wear a mask made in China that didn't protect me from anything. Tell me about the science of 6 feet apart. Tell me about the science of being in a restaurant. You can sit down and eat with no mask, but you got to stand up and wear a mask. But if you go to can, you got to stand back up and put it on again.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our next Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class is coming up Saturday, October 18th. It's going to be at Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range, located in Avon, Indiana, right there at 8217 Kingston Street in Avon, from 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. So this is 5 hours, the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. We'd love for you to join us. It's only $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. You can sign up right online at tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
Whether it's the good food or the friendly mood, you can count on Indiana to never lose when it comes to tailgating. And we want to see you at every game. That's why Hubler's got you covered with the best warranty around. So kick off the season in a Hubler quality pre-owned vehicle. Right now, you can buy with 0 down. Choose from over 2,000 cars, trucks, and SUVs. Plus, every Hubler Q certified vehicle is covered by a 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Includes a 128-point vehicle inspection and a free Carfax history report. We'll pay top dollar for your trade. Bring Hubler your old car for an immediate appraisal. 0 down delivers. And Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles.
Hubler's got you covered.
Visit drivehubler.com or any of our 13 convenient locations.
Cover me!
Select models, approved credit. Warranty on select models less than 9 years old.
If you're experiencing a hardship and need to quickly sell your home, we may be able to help. Simple Quarters has helped over 3,000 families sell their homes in Indiana.
Simple Quarters has helped me by allowing me to sell my house. It's given me the financial stability to be able to move and go on with that next chapter. Simple Quarters was the best option for me because there was no BS involved. It was simply straightforward, to the point, honesty. And that is what made me go with Simple Quarters. There was nothing that I didn't expect. They didn't have hidden fees. They didn't ask me to go get an appraisal. They didn't ask me to have a surveyor come out. This has probably been one of the easiest experiences in my life. And if I ever have to do it again, I would call Simple Quarters again. Simple Quarters absolutely kept their word through the whole process.
Call Simple Quarters 317-900-HOME. 317-900-HOME.
I'm a veteran. We hit a mine in Vietnam. When I came home, I didn't know where to turn.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
My victory's been never giving up hope. My wife is always there to remind me we have a life to live.
DAV provides a lifetime of support, helping veterans of every generation get the benefits they've earned.
I am a veteran, but after I got out, I spent 2 years alone and homeless.
Every year, DAV helps more than 1 million veterans so they can reach victories great and small.
My victory was finding the support to get back on my feet. Now I'm getting things right with my family.
I finally admitted, with my PTSD, I wasn't doing well.
But there's more to be done and more victories to be won.
Now I wish I'd found DAV sooner. I am a veteran. My victory is just enjoying each day.
Help support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
My house has a new glow. I love my windows. Universal Windows Direct.
Hey, it's Rob. Right now, buy 2 windows and get 2 free. And no interest for 3 whole years. Restrictions apply. Call 317-659-7574. Like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
I love my windows. They've got that brand new home effect. Universal Windows Direct.
Friendly reminder to change your filter. Head on over to our website at familyhvac.net for some of the best pricing on filters around.
Family Heating and Air is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Indy Humane. Find your new best friend today. Visit indyhumane.org.
Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. We're still not getting any callers tonight. If you want to join the discussion, we can get you right on the air. Give us a call, 317-239-9393. 317-239-9393. So these last two very high-profile shooters, the ICE shooting, and by the way, some of my buddies in the chat on YouTube are telling me that the particular Mauser that was used in the Dallas ICE shooting actually came from Chile, and also the Mauser licensed out the design of this 8mm bolt action to a lot of different countries. So they're produced in a lot of different countries. And somebody had the very astute point that it's unlikely to be a Nazi battle rifle if it came from Chile. I think that's a fair point. And so you would think, again, looking at these last two shootings, the just horrible assassination of Charlie Kirk, which I think a lot of us are going to take a long time to get over. And then the shooting at the ICE facility in Dallas, these were both done with, the Mauser, quote unquote, but both done with bolt action rifles. And I'm sure on one hand, the anti-gun crowd out there, liberals are out there. I mean, they light up whenever they have the opportunity to accuse the so-called assault weapon, the weapons of war, quote unquote, which is obviously an inaccurate description, but what they often ascribe to AR-15 and the like, semi-automatic rifles, most common rifles in America. Neither one of these shootings were committed with a quote-unquote assault rifle. And a lot of times when we see shootings, we'll see shootings with handguns, we'll see shootings with shotguns, and the left just sort of disappears about those because they don't have the steady drumbeat that they love to use with, to quote Rahm Emanuel, never letting a good tragedy go to waste, of going after the most common rifles in America, the so-called assault rifles, again, which they call weapons of war. Well, now they're calling a bolt-action Mauser a Nazi battle rifle, so they're not wandering too far from that theme. But so you would think that the gun control screams wouldn't be present, wouldn't have been generated from these last two shootings. But oh no, you would be wrong. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer was asked about the ICE shooting, and where did he go? This was on MSNBC's Morning Joe. And I can never look at, listen to, or see Morning Joe without laughing, usually out loud, and thinking about his description. Days before then President Biden participated in the debate with Donald Trump, and the world got to see the extent of his mental degradation. I mean, how deep into dementia he had sunk at that moment, and the world got to see it, and it was no longer deniable. But Morning Joe on MSNBC had come out and said this version of Joe Biden is as sharp, is as good, it's the best he's ever been. His staff can't keep up with him. He runs circles around his staff. He's the most hardworking, he's the brightest, most astute he's ever been. So, forgive me, I have to go on that rant every time I think about Morning Joe. And how he can show his face on television after being embarrassed over that comment, I'm not quite sure. But Chuck Schumer was being asked by Morning Joe about the ICE shooting in particular. And where did Chuck Schumer go? He goes, we need better laws on guns. First place he goes, gun control. We need better laws on guns. So again, these most recent shootings, you got 2 shootings committed with bolt action rifles. We need better laws on guns. I mean, we got something done a few years ago. He's talking about the so-called Safer Communities Act. I mean, we got something done a few years ago, but it's just rampant, and we have to do more. So he's talking about passing laws. So how many generations, how many decades have we heard from the left, the gun control proponents on the left? How many years have we heard no one wants to take your hunting rifle? Right? That deer rifle that you have, that rifle you use to put food on the table, no one's going to take your hunting rifle away from you. I mean, we've heard no one wants to take your guns at all. And of course, that's a lie. And in fact, we saw calls for confiscation. We saw presidential candidates come right out and say, hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15. Hell yes, we're going to take your AK-47. So we know confiscation is part of the plan. But as part of that, even those that have admitted they want to come take your semi-automatic rifle with a detachable magazine, at least they've said no one at least wants to take your hunting rifle. Now, I always chuckle about that because as part of that, they say, and by the way, you can't hunt with an AR-15. It has no use for hunting, therefore you don't need one. Where is the reference to hunting in the Second Amendment? Talking about well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state. That's the preamble. What's important are the arms that I have a right to keep and bear that are necessary for the security of a free state. What the hell does that have to do with hunting? People say, well, that doesn't, totally, and by the way, do people hunt with ARs? Absolutely. 100% they do. Now, there are obviously cartridge restrictions on what you can use to hunt different game, and some of the most common ARs are in calibers that are not necessarily legal for hunting certain things, but that's not because they're quote-unquote too powerful, like always gets stated about them. It's just the opposite. They're not powerful enough, not a big enough cartridge moving fast enough to guarantee an ethical kill of an animal, like a deer. But my point in all of this is they've said, well, no one wants to take your hunting rifle. And I've never believed that when I heard it. I think there are people out there that would take every gun in America if they could. Of course, that's every gun they can get a hold of, which means they're going to go to the law-abiding people and take their guns. And, of course, the criminals are not going to relinquish theirs, which leaves you only one element of society that's armed. But that's still the plan. And what I think is great evidence of that, and it may be just that Chuck Schumer's an idiot and didn't even know what kind of rifles he's talking about. But after 2 different shootings with bolt-action rifles, you got Chuck Schumer calling for more gun control. Well, a so-called assault weapon ban is irrelevant to those 2 shootings because assault weapon wasn't used, neither one. And then you've got an article like The Trace. If you know The Trace, they're about as leftist as they come. But they actually had an article here just recently about the dangers of these evil bolt-action rifles that are the weapons of choice for, quote-unquote, long-range sniper attacks. And what we now need to be primarily concerned about, as far as a danger to the American public, is long-range sniper attacks with bolt-action rifles. What's that tell you? What's the point? What direction are they going here? They're laying a foundation, yes, to come after your hunting rifle. And listen, if I want to take a long-distance shot, I mean a very long-distance shot, there are all people out there, all kinds of people out there. People tell you they qualified with their M1 with iron sights at 500 yards, and I absolutely believe them when they tell me. And people that tell what they qualified with their M16 or their M4, and they were shooting long distances with iron sights and it's with semi-automatic rifle. Are there semi-automatic sniper rifles? Absolutely, there are. Used by the military. But you ask me what I want to use if I want to take a really long distance shot. Let's say I want to take a 500-yard shot, and I want to have some confidence that I'm going to hit that shot. What rifle that I own am I going to take for that? Am I going to use for that shot? I'm going to use my Bolt Action 300 Win Mag. And so long-range shots, yes, are going to be used, are going to be taken. A lot of people are going to select a Bolt Action rifle. Why are they used so prevalently in hunting? Well, there are round restrictions in most states. A lot of times you're only taking one, maybe two shots, a shot and a follow-up. And, yeah, a lot of times shots are taken at distance. Now, people, again, will restrict themselves on distance because they want to make sure they can make an ethical kill as part of a hunt. And a lot of people I know, and I'm not a big deer hunter, people I know say, I won't take a shot over 200 yards or I won't take a shot over 150. But what guns are they using? Not always. A lot of them are using bolt-action rifles. Why, by the way? Why is a bolt-action rifle inherently more accurate than a semi-automatic? Well, you can't completely compare genres and compare all rifles. Are all bolt-action rifles more accurate than all semi-automatic? Absolutely not. Not even close. But generically speaking, there are traits about the bolt-action rifle that makes it more accurate than a semi-automatic. There are fewer moving pieces. At the time the gun is cycling or the time the gun is firing, there are less things going on in a bolt-action rifle. And through less moving parts, less movement of the gun, and the way that a lot of bolt actions are built, they're built specifically for long-distance shooting. So is there a threat, a continuing threat of more, quote-unquote, to use the language of the trace, are there dangers out there of long-range sniper attacks using bolt-action rifles? Well, I suppose to the extent that we've now seen two high-profile shootings of exactly that nature, they're going to be more wackos decide that's what they want to do as well. What does that tell us about the need to find these people, to chase them down, to identify them, to get them off the streets before they have an opportunity to do these things? But if you think you're going to pass a law that's going to address this, as Chuck Schumer was clearly suggesting, you are talking about taking America's hunting rifles away from them. That's exactly what you're talking about. And if there's an excuse to do it, and the favorite excuse of the left is to point to any tragedy and say, aha, that's exactly the reason we need to go in that direction, then you're going to see exactly what's unfolding right now. People waving their hands in the air, talking about the dangers of these kinds of attacks, and then politicians saying, well, there's got to be something to do. Do I see that happening in my lifetime? Absolutely not. But don't think it's not on their agenda, which is exactly the point. And all right, with that, we're a little past the bottom of the hour. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. And if we have any, go to the phone lines and shift gears a little bit here on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
It's another week of this.
There's a very good chance that we'll have a settlement.
And another day for this.
Water rose 28 foot in 45 minutes.
Plus, another possibility of this.
Monitor the weather condition, the National Weather Service.
That's why another update is just minutes away.
Start saying we're not taking this anymore.
Just another day.
Not with all this happening.
Every day.
Happening now.
93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
At Andy Moore Ford, you're going to get more. Much, much more. With the Get More Guarantee, you always get more savings, more selection, and more for your trade. Buy your vehicle 100% online. Just go to Andy Moore, M-O-H-R, AndyMooreFord.com, and Andy Moore will deliver that car right to your door. Drive off in a new Ford F-150 XL truck for under $40,000 with over 100 vehicles to choose from. And if you rely on commercial trucks for your business, you have to check out Andy Moore Ford. The whole commercial center they've built to make sure your Ford truck or van fits your business needs is absolutely incredible. From medium to heavy-duty F-Series trucks. And they've got the biggest selection of Super Duty trucks in the state. Over 175 Super Duty trucks on the ground and ready to work for you. Talk to Andy Moore Ford, 2713 East Main Street in Plainfield, or online at Andy Moore Ford, M-O-H-R. AndyMooreFord.com.
The deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at the Stoutfield National Guard Armory on West Minnesota Street. The best dealers in the region, hundreds of tables, just $6 for adults, kids 12 and under free. Must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. Next Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Stoutfield National Guard Armory. For more info, visit CentralIndianaGunShows.com.
Stop settling for weak sound. It's time to level up your game and bring the boom. Hit the town with the ultra-durable LG X Boom portable speaker and enjoy vibrant sound wherever you go. Elevate your listening experience to new heights because, let's be real, your music deserves it. The future of sound is now with LG X Boom. And for a limited time, save 25% at LG.com with code FALL25. Bring the boom. X Boom.
This hour powered by Family Heating and Air, your American Standard Air dealer. Nobody cares for you like family.
Fox News, I'm Carmen Roberts. Hurricane Umberto becomes a monster Category 5 storm with 160-mile-an-hour winds, and is expected to affect Bermuda by Tuesday night. This as another hurricane is brewing, now known as Tropical Depression 9.
Still some slow organization, but hurricane hunters not really able to find those strong winds and a strong enough area to say, yeah, this is a tropical storm.
Fox weather meteorologist Steve Morgan. It is expected to become Hurricane Imelda and dump heavy rain on the southeast early next week. President Trump says he is ordering troops to Portland to protect ICE facilities under attack from Antifa groups. Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon sees it differently.
He wants to stoke fear and chaos and trigger violent interactions and riots to justify expanded authoritarian control. Let's not take the bait.
America's listening to Fox News.
Ain't nothing gonna break my stride. Nobody gonna slow me down.
Don't let pneumococcal pneumonia break your stride. If you're 50 or older, you're at increased risk. So be proactive with Capvaxive pneumococcal 21-valent conjugate vaccine to help protect against invasive pneumococcal disease and pneumonia caused by certain types of pneumococcal bacteria. Capvaxive helps protect against the strains of bacteria that cause about 30% more IPD cases than any other pneumococcal conjugate vaccine in adults over 50, according to national-level CDC stats. Regional variations may exist. Don't get Capvaxive if you're allergic to the vaccine or its ingredients. Tell your doctor if you have a weakened immune system. Common side effects include injection site reactions, feeling tired, headache, muscle aches, and fever. Capvaxive does not protect against all strains. For more information, call 1-800-927-8888 or visit capvaxive.com. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Capvaxive. Need help paying for your Merck vaccine? Visit merckhelps.com. Sponsored by Merck.
Change is always happening. It's part of life. And when it comes to music, change is all around us. Songs are rewritten, classics are remixed, bands and artists come and go. Even our taste in music changes. Here at Xfinity, we know there's still good in keeping some things the same. That's why we want to do our part with a 5-year price guarantee on our internet. It means no matter what changes, you get 5 years of the most reliable Wi-Fi with our best equipment included for a price that stays exactly the same. Surprised? Life is full of them. One internet price, 5 years, guaranteed. Learn more at xfinity.com/deals. Restrictions apply. New residential customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. Most reliable Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA. Fixed Broadband Experience Report, August 2024.
The show about gun rights, gun safety, and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. I was reading about a shooting in Penn Station, train station in New York City. It just happened this last week. And a guy there in the train station tried to rob 2 undercover police officers. At least they were police officers in plain clothes. And one of the officers drew his gun and shot the bad guy. Apparently just hit him in the arm. Guy's going to be okay, but good guys won, robber lost. And you say, okay, that's all good news. But, you know, doing what I do for a living and looking at things from a legal perspective, it really sort of took me back through what we've seen in New York. And in particular, what we've seen from New York and other places like Hawaii and California. And their response to the Supreme Court's decision from here a couple of years ago in the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin case. And if you don't recall that case, what that case came out and said, that was dealing with the fact that in New York City, there were very severe restrictions on your ability to get a carry license that would allow you to carry a handgun outside the home. And virtually nobody, unless you were politically connected, got a license. And the rank and file New York citizen simply couldn't carry outside the home. And so the Supreme Court, in ruling on that case, said, listen, carrying a handgun outside the home is a right protected by the Second Amendment. And having this licensing system that involves some government official having the discretion to decide who had a sufficient need, quote unquote, to carry a handgun in public. And basically in New York, it was you had to have some active current threat against you. Just having a job that puts you in harm's way or carrying large amounts of cash or jewelry, like some jewelry store owners wanted to get a license, couldn't. Living in a high crime area, none of that was good enough. You had to have some current active threat. So-and-so is currently trying to kill me. Here's documentation of it. I mean, that's about how bad it was. As far as the requirement to have a sufficient need to get a license in New York, the Supreme Court said that's unconstitutional. You have to have a shall issue system, meaning anybody who's eligible to get a license without the discretion of some bureaucrat scratching his chin saying, you have a need, but you don't, can't be based on need. It has to be based on legal eligibility, like the system we have here in Indiana when we had a license requirement. Still have a license. And the requirements, the criteria for getting your license are exactly what they've always been, or at least for a long, long time. But a shall issue system as opposed to a may issue system. And so a lot of us looked at this, and by the way, they also redefined the test, and this is what's made huge progress for Second Amendment rights, is they redefined the test and said, no, it's text, history, and tradition. It's not some balancing of a compelling governmental interest in whatever it might be, balanced against the extent of infringement of a constitutional right. That balancing test always irritated the hell out of me. Well, a little bit of infringement is okay as long as there's a compelling government interest that we're trying to protect or that the law is trying to advance. No. Shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed. And whatever level of infringement you think is okay is not okay because it's still infringement. And so we got away from this balancing test in the Bruin decision. But also through the shall issue requirement and the recognition that carrying a handgun outside the home is a fundamental right protected by the Second Amendment, a lot of us celebrated the Bruin decision enthusiastically. This is really changes the landscape. Well, New York and several other states, as I mentioned, seeing what they're now faced with, of, well, gosh, we have to issue licenses. We have to have a shall issue system. People are going to carry guns more than they could before. What can we possibly do to continue infringing on the citizens' rights in New York? I mean, that's literally the thought process. And they took one phrase out of the Bruin decision, which is, yes, it's a fundamental right to carry a handgun outside the home. However, they recognize that a government may want to still restrict guns from being carried in certain sensitive places like schools. And governments like the government in New York and Hawaii and California and others have said, aha, we'll declare every damn place a sensitive location where we can still regulate firearms. And that's exactly what they sought to do. Basically, it was anywhere in public. I mean, it's not quite that bad, but getting pretty close. And one of the places they declared as a sensitive area was public transportation in New York City. And that would include Penn Station, where the shooting occurred. Why do you suppose there were two bad guys brazen enough to walk up to just two men standing around on a platform in the train station and try to rob them at gunpoint? Because they know it's a prohibited place. They know it's a quote-unquote gun-free zone. And I've been saying for a lot of years, there's no such thing as a gun-free zone. It's a fallacy. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as a gun-free zone. It doesn't exist. Why do I say that? Well, there are places where only the good guys have guns, like after the secure area of the airport. Why? Because there were people with guns and metal detectors and the wherewithal to take your gun away from you if you try to take your gun into a place where it's not allowed. Prisons. After you get through the gate, you get through security, that's a gun-free zone, but it's not without guns. Are there guards with guns in prison? Yes. Only the good guys have guns. Then there are places that are not restricted, so essentially anybody can have a gun there, maybe not legally as far as bad guys who cannot legally possess firearms, but in terms of the capacity to have guns there, anybody can have a gun there out on the street in public. Here in Indiana, bad guys have guns, good guys have guns. They're legally able to do so. And then there are places where only bad guys have guns. At least there are no good guys that have guns there unless they're willing to break the law. So declaring public transportation areas, including Penn Station in New York, as a gun-free zone is not declaring it a gun-free zone at all because it doesn't exist. It's a fallacy. It's declaring that we will only allow bad guys to have guns here, or at least we acknowledge that only bad guys will have guns because the good people are going to follow the law and not have guns. And that's exactly why you got two guys robbing two adult men standing on a platform in Penn Station in New York. And by the way, that prohibition about public transportation went up to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals here just recently. And the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, being the Second Circuit, an incredibly liberal circuit, said, oh, no, that's fine. Where these very crowded areas, there's a certain sense there's certainly sensitive areas where it makes perfect sense to restrict guns there. That's consistent with text, history, and tradition of the Second Amendment. And New York can have this law if it wants. And so then what do you see at Penn Station? Exactly what everybody would predict. Gun-free zones don't exist. There are places where only good guys have guns. There are places where both good and bad people have guns. And there are places where only bad guys have guns. That's New York's Penn Station. Congratulations, New York. Brilliant. And with that, I'll tell you, we're a little past the 3/4 hour. Let's take a break there. We'll come back and we'll wrap up this edition of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
Charlie Kirk had no control over your life. He didn't have to exist in anyone's orbit that didn't want to hear or see him.
Someone couldn't handle him on an intellectual level, so they resorted to violence. Had a choice to not engage with his platforms. They couldn't handle it. And my question is, what did it solve?
Kendall and Casey, weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for the law offices of Guy Relford. You know, I say often here on the show that one thing we do and we really enjoy doing is restore gun rights, Second Amendment rights for people who may have lost those rights in the past due to a felony conviction or some other restriction on your rights, like a conviction for a crime of domestic violence. A lot of times, if a sufficient amount of time has gone by, if you're eligible for restoration of rights, then we're able to do that for a lot of people. Not necessarily for everyone, and some convictions cannot be expunged, but an awful lot of them can. A very common one, for instance, that we address is someone who may, years ago, have had more than one OWI, or what a lot of people call DUIs. That second one often gets entered as a felony. Well, now they've lost their gun rights. That is just one common example. Things like theft or criminal conversion that happened a long, long time ago. Well, that's what the expungement statute is designed to address, to be able to clear that conviction off of someone's record and restore their gun rights. That may or may not apply to you. If you're curious about that, you want to talk to us about that, contact us through the website. It's relfordlaw.com. You can send us an email right through the website. Our phone number is there, and we'd be happy to talk to you about it. Contact us through the website about restoring your Second Amendment rights, or if that applies to a family member, a friend, someone you'd like to be a shooting buddy or a hunting buddy with, if they can get their rights restored, just refer them to relfordlaw.com, and we'll take it from there.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Zillow ranking Indy number 2 among 2025's hottest markets. Home values have risen and are holding strong. Now is a great time to sell. Hire the team with proven systems to max your equity. I'm talking about real estate expert Mark Dietl. That's what Luke and Emma in Franklin did. They built their dream home. They needed to sell their old place to get the great price to pay for it. Mark Dietl made it easy. Multiple offers in the first weekend, closed in 25 days at the price they needed. Mark Dietl and his team came through big.
Mark Dietl is the best in the business, and he has the guarantee that backs it up. Mark Dietl is the only real estate agent that we recommend, and he guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price or deadline, or he will buy it. You pick the move date, no long-term contracts. That's what separates Mark Dietl. 755-4232, or go to markdietl.com. That's Mark, Dietel, markdietl.com. Tell him Hammer and Nigel sent you.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to My Computer Career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu. My Computer Career, an elite CompTIA certification partner.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
Seems like there's more identity theft in the news every day.
Another major healthcare breach was reported today, resulting in the exposure of...
Now, 1 in 4 consumers have been a victim of identity.
That's because there are endless places that could accidentally expose you to identity theft, in a breach, or simply by mistake. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Of all the times to buy a new Lincoln, right now is the very best time at Tom Roush Lincoln. Get 0% APR for up to 48 months on 2025 Lincoln Corsair, Nautilus, or Aviator. Plus get a $1,000 Tom Roush Trade Assist bonus. So come get that new Lincoln from Tom Roush Lincoln, where our family's been serving yours for over 53 years.
36-month, 10,000-mile per year lease, 2,500 due at signing. No security deposit required. All offers subject to credit approval. See dealer for complete offer details. Ends 9/30/25.
Forget digging through clutter to find what matters. The WIBC Daily Newsletter puts the biggest local stories and exclusive show moments in your inbox and lets you skip the scroll. Sign up by clicking Connect at WIBC.com. Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. Got a bit of a short segment here to wrap up this edition of the Gun Guy Show. But, this shooting in New York, and by the way, I went back and looked at the article. It was actually a female officer that shot this bad guy there as she was waiting with a fellow officer there on the platform in Penn Station. Doesn't change any of my points about that, but I wanted to be accurate about that. I had read it the first time, just said 2 officers, and I incorrectly assumed they were both guys. But there you go. And if I'm a woman standing around in Penn Station in New York, you think I don't want to be armed? 100% I do. But New York law prohibits me from doing that. And I'll leave you with this. This is one of those areas the Supreme Court just really has to take up. The Supreme Court needs to take the so-called assault weapon ban cases. And in fact, we had Justice Kavanaugh came out and said we really need to take one of these here soon. They need to take that. They need to take the age restrictions, the high-capacity magazine cases, and the sensitive places cases. They absolutely need to take those as well. A lot of people are being deprived of their constitutional freedoms, and the Supreme Court needs to step in. And with that, that's this week's edition of the show. Remember, always shoot straight and always be safe. This is Guy Relford on 93 WYBC.
Everybody knows Hubler's got the best warranty around. 10 years, 200,000 miles. But did you know? Now you can get that same limited powertrain warranty on new Toyotas. Introducing the all-new Hubler Toyota. Get grand opening savings all month long. And right now, save on new Toyota trucks with low APR financing, including 2025 Tacomas with 3.99%, or Tundras, just 1.75 APR for 72 months.
Hubler's got you covered.
At the all-new Hubler Toyota on US 31 South in Indianapolis. Visit HublerToyota.com. Grand opening savings and the best warranty around. 10 years, 200,000 miles.
Cover me!
Select models, approved credit, plus tax tag title license, 249 dealer doc. Tacoma monthly payment for 60 months, 1841, and Tundra 1464 per thousand financed. Expires 9/30.
It seems like all kids do during the summer is drag dirt into the house. Well, they can stink up the house too, but here's the good news. The kids are back in school.